John was working in his science lab, got blasted by gamma rays. Now he's Smash Trivia John, always smashing. He's friends with Ruffalo, crushing on Maslany, and also Sydney Sweeney. John's here saying, hello my gamma friends, welcome to the show, the Gamma Analysis Podcast.
Smash.
Hello, my Gamma friends. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia. I'll be the one with the big old green head in the profile picture. And you can also check out my other podcast, Creepy and Kooky, a Wednesday Addams podcast, where I talk about the Wednesday TV show and just all things Addams Family with my friend Lilith the Librarian. Here, this is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, I'm going to review everything Hulk, all the movies, TV shows, and I also do some random other geeky films, and sometimes not so geeky films. Hope you enjoy Smash Trivia Presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening, please do time for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast to all your friends. If you don't, Hulk will be angry. Now let's smash right into this episode. Today's episode is a review of Top Gun, the original from the 80s, with Tyler from at 2.0 films on Twitter. How you doing, Tyler?
Doing good. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a film that I had actually never seen before, or that's why I wanted to do the first one and not the second one.
Oh my
so I wanted
God,
to do this for
you've
the
never
first time.
seen it?
This is now so I've now watched it twice because of doing this podcast, but I hadn't seen this one before, so I was like, when you suggested do a second one, I'm like, let's do the first one because I've never seen either of them, so I want to watch the first one first.
Oh my God, you've never seen Top Gun. It is a movie I have seen probably tens of thousands of times since I was a little kid. Like, my dad saw Top Gun in theaters, I think 4 times. He saw Top Gun Maverick in theaters 5 times, by the way. My dad never watches movies either, so that just shows the
way I've always thought of these films is like they're very much for the manly man audience.
Oh, they are. Oh my God, Tony Scott made this is the manly man's movie. It's very.
Like, I think the most manly man parts of it, which is the flying, are actually the things I found the most boring in it. To be honest, yeah, I found it so much more interesting in the actual like relationships between people and all of that stuff. The flying parts I kind of tuned out a lot of the time as they were going on. I'm just like, let's get through this and get back to what I care about.
Okay. Yeah. Dude, this is a movie I quote all the time. Like, talk to me, Goose. Your ego is writing checks your body can't cash. I can quote almost all this movie word line for line. It is
one line
again.
One line from the film that I don't hear people able quote, but I found absolutely hilarious watching it is one of the when one of the I think people in command were angry and they said, I want butts. I want 2 people's butts.
I want somebody's butt right now.
Give me some butts.
God damn it. That's nice. I want some butts. Yes. And then right afterwards, Goose is like, you remember that truck driving school we saw on TV? I might need that number. It's such a good movie. The negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full. And they oh my God, dude, the movie
I find really hilarious about it is how many times they played the same seductive song on. Like every time I hear that, I'm like, it feels like I'm about to see a hardcore sex scene. Nope, there nope, nothing like that. It's just put on there for random places.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I, this movie is very, somebody made a really great comment, and I think I agree with it. It's homoerotic. The film is very homoerotic, especially the volleyball scene where they're all fucking just like
Mhm.
oil and sweaty. And I'm just like,
It's
I can understand a little bit about where that comes from for sure. That kind of like thinking of it. I think
this
Top
is
Gun
such
is
a
where,
it, it, it always is interesting in me seeing like films from the 80s where it was before or PG-13 was really a thing. So you would see things like some crazy stuff in PG rated films. It's like
yep, that
this is
was
a
why I was
film
able
where
to
I'm
watch this movie.
like
That was the
this
only reason.
yeah,
It
this
was
is
PG. So,
like I feel like it kind of is this weird thing where where it causes a lot of films from the 80s for you wonder like what actually was the audience they were pointing towards with this. Like there's since some stuff feels like it absolutely could be a kids movie, some stuff is like no, that's not like I
oh,
feel
it is. Yeah.
I feel the same way about out. And this is a film. I actually like. I really love that most people hate Howard the Duck. It's like it's PG, but there are things in it that you would not put in sign that's for children. And
One of my one of
the National Lampoon's film owns vacation films like
One of
those.
my, yeah, yeah. One of my favorite films of all time is The Right Stuff, and that's PG. And they were talking about getting semen samples in the movie. There were so many things in that movie that were not for kids. And that was the thing too, because I even asked my parents about that. I think the
Like
rating system for
it's
back then, Raiders, before Raiders did the whole
mhm,
PG-13, and that was the first it was G, PG, then R.
yeah.
That was
Yeah,
it. That was it.
ratings are like such an interesting thing to me because it's like because I know there are technically set rules for them, but it always kind of feels arbitrary.
Oh, it does. And the rules and the goalposts for ratings has changed so much over the years. Like they were saying, so I one of my good friends was a film critic. He was a local here in Northern Kentucky. He was a local film critic that would go to Sundance. He would interview all the major stars. And I met him in high school. He taught me broadcast journalism in high school. I highly respected the man, and he was a great teacher. But he was talking to me back when I was in high school about that is there's so many rules that they had that have changed. Like I think it was the Promise Land with Matt Damon. You know the movie about I think it was about fracking that came out. I think it got
Yeah.
an R rating at first, but it was because they dropped the F bomb 2 times. And
Yeah,
that was the only reason why. The
it's
rules
funny.
change
Hmm.
so much, and it is kind of
And
arbitrary.
it's weird. There are films that are PG-13 that do have multiple F
Yeah,
bombs in them.
yeah,
You know, and this with nudity in films it's also
yeah.
so interesting because like I've heard about how for Titanic James Cameron and if I remember I heard that his argument for why it should be PG-13 is that it's not sexual in any way. I'm like I feel like that is kind of sensual saying hate me like one of your French girls.
Yes, that's very sexual. And
Like
the
how
way that he was
like
drawing her was very sexual
it's
too.
also sorry
Like,
Titanic is is another one of those cinematic blind spots where I haven't actually seen it, but I know I know a lot about it. I've signed that I remember finding out a few years ago that kind of made that scene a little creepy. Is that canonically the character was a minor in that scene. They're not actually an adult.
Yeah. You're
It's like
oh wow.
why?
Yeah.
People have gone crazy over that scene so much, and and I would think once people actually like did the math and found out how old the character actually was, you would think they would start are pushing themselves away from that scene and be like, no, I'm not actually interested in that scene. Let's skip that if we're gonna watch this film.
Yeah. But it's so fascinating. And again, that's just film history
Why
right
did
there, man.
James Cameron? Why was he so insistent on including that scene? The
Yeah.
character, the minor, it's like this, but yeah,
Yeah.
but ratings just they are like one of the most interesting things to me about films is
Yeah.
how the rating system works and how it all just feels like such bullshit.
Yeah. And it's like, and again, the hoops that some people have to jump through to get a film a certain rating. I've heard so many stories about directors having to do literally like gymnastics to get a movie to
No,
PG-13 from an R. Like,
are you at
it's
all?
also bribery, dude. You know
Are,
how many people have probably bribed the MPAA to get those ratings that they
there's
need
also but
to? Like,
there's also like times where they've had to push us for their film to be a lower rating, and and the scene in question isn't actually that crazy of a scene. Are you a fan of Marvel at all?
yeah,
The Avengers had to push for us to get a PG-13 rating, and it was because of a scene where Black Widow is fighting people while she's tied up, and I've seen the film. That scene's not crazy at all.
no,
It's
no.
like I've seen much more violent scenes in PG-13 films. It's crazy that the MPAA originally was going to give that an R rating because of that scene.
Yeah, fun fact, I see your She-Hulk in the back. I I worked on Miss Marvel's reshoots and I was there
Nice.
for when they were doing She-Hulk reshoots tandem right across like in another soundstage when I was working on Miss Marvel.
That's
So,
cool. Nice.
yeah. Oh yeah, I've worked on Cap 4. I've worked on Thunderbolts and Miss Marvel and like a day on Captain America or not Cap Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I've done a few Marvel projects for various amounts of time in
Hmm.
Atlanta, which was fun,
Yeah,
which is fun.
I would love to be an extra in sign for or Marvel. I last year I think it was I actually like tried to do the extra for Thunderbolts. It was for the gala scene. And and like I got set up in a suit, and I took pictures, and I just never heard anything back. It was so no. I was like, oh
Was extras
man.
casting, I think it was extras casting Atlanta that would do the casting for that.
Hmm.
Um, Marvel's pulled out of Georgia
Hmm.
completely. So,
Oh yeah.
but I wouldn't be surprised, like DC,
I'm
the new Superman film is gonna start filming there. I just saw a report that James Gunn was saying around April of next year, which makes sense. I think DC's gonna
you know.
take over
Did you
Atlanta, which is
have you
awesome.
heard? Have you heard anything about whether it's actually gonna happen? Films having to pay 100% of their budget, just effectively doubling their films if their films budget if they want to go film overseas. Is that actually
So,
is still sign Trump is trying to push, or do you just opt with that?
I
Because I
I
remember
haven't
that
been
was
able to
something that was
follow that. I haven't been
I
able to follow that.
I remember
Um,
hearing about that, and it
yeah,
just seemed to go away. I'm like, that
I
feels like a bigger thing that that you wouldn't think would have just disappeared from the news cycle. I signing like Avengers Doomsday. That's probably gonna be a nearly $500 million budget. Itself, it would be insane if that ends up being $1 billion budget because of the Trump, and
here's
somehow
another
it's not getting news coverage.
But here's another thing too. I was hearing people like my film friends that have been in the industry for a while is they don't think that that could even be viable because of the fact films are not a product, they're a service.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of I until it goes into law, until there's actually something on the books,
Mm-hmm.
and again, I'll hear some from my union about that. And if I do hear anything, I'll post about what I hear. But it does. We need, and that's what I'll say to your viewers, is what people don't know is so the actors and writers strike happened in
Mm-hmm.
2023. That went on for 9 months.
Yeah.
Altogether, we didn't film anything in Atlanta for basically 9 months.
Yeah.
And it nearly, I think I got done with Cap for, I only did a couple weeks,
Mm-hmm.
but we got done around, I got done with filming around, I think it was May or June.
Yeah.
And then basically for the rest of the summer, nothing. And then through the start of next 2024, barely anything was happening.
Yeah.
And what happened is the writers and actors, they got their deal. They got what they want, which was amazing. IATSE, I'm part of the local 600, which is the Cinematographers Guild. So I'm part of the camera department, camera union. I'm a digital utility in the camera union, and I'm the lowest on the totem pole, but handsomely paid
Mm-hmm.
when I'm working as a utility, handsomely paid, which is I love it. But again, I it got very interesting. So
Oh yeah.
when they decided, so when the deals were made, the studios pushed the rhetoric that the dollar was worth more overseas. So they decided to pull literally from 2 years pretty much. 2 years pretty much. Now 2.5, almost 3 years now. Since then, there's been barely any US production going on. In Atlanta, we went from over 50 productions in 2022 to last year having only 10 productions going on in Atlanta at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And it and what the studios just killed it because they wanted to retaliate because of the fact that the actors and writers got their deal. So they decided to hurt us and do
Mm-hmm.
maximum amount of damage. The
Yeah.
only major project that filmed in Atlanta last year was Superman. So I have a lot of respect and I love James Gunn for the fact he lives in Georgia, he lives in Atlanta, and he loves the film crew. And that's the only, he wants to bring more of those productions to Atlanta, which is honestly going to be amazing because Superman filmed there and Peacemaker season 2 filmed in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of friends that worked on both. And but that's what isn't really talked about in the news enough is just like whenever strikes happen in the in the car industry, the car manufacturing industry, and how much hurt is there. Film crew in Georgia and across the United States are in serious, serious pain.
Yeah.
California, where Hollywood was born, literally Hollywood, there's barely anything going on.
Mm-hmm.
I literally talked to some of my friends. One of my good friends is a second AD. He worked on Avatar Fire and Ash. That was his big production that he got to work on last year. He worked on that for about 6 months last year. which kept him afloat for majority of the year, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing he's worked on since the strikes happened. Is that. And
Hmm.
what needs to happen is we need to bring production back. I implore if Trump can do something to bring production back, we need we need to make movies back in the United States, like Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man film, is shooting in, I think it's Ireland right now,
Yeah.
Glasgow in place of New York City.
Hmm.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Oh,
Like, you
it's
would want to film in New York City for New York City scenes, but that's not what they're doing
I
because
think
of
the
the
only
fact,
thing that they've done on actually in New York City is Daredevil.
yeah,
They've
yeah,
they filmed stuff for Daredevil in New York City, I think, but that's
yeah.
the only thing.
They filmed it all in New York City, which is amazing. They just filmed the Punisher uh special in New York City, which was awesome. I think that just finished right before Brand New Day started filming. So,
Hmm.
but again, it's sprinkled in. Like New York is getting some, Atlanta's getting, New York is the most. I was talking again to one of my industry friends who's been doing this for years, decades. And he's like, New York is the most active right now for production, most active. So we went from Atlanta being the film hub of the South to barely anything going on. Last year I worked on the Bondsman TV show with Kevin Bacon. Um, and that was the only project that I worked on consistently last year as a PA, which is the
I
lowest of the low on the totem pole. I got paid 15 an hour working on it. That kept me
think
afloat.
another thing that's I bet is hurting I mean, people is the fact that that all studios are pushing for or doing these 8 episode shows instead of 24 episode shows like we used to.
But here's what's happening now is I know there's an Apple TV show that's filming in Georgia right now called Cape Fear. That 8 episode TV show has been shooting for 6 months. So that's the thing too that not a lot of people realize is those 8 episodes, that's about 4 or 5 months to film. That's
So it's always interesting to me, feel like because that somehow before they were able to do 24 episode seasons in like 9 months out 9 months for a year, or not and like it taking 4 months for or an 8 episode one.
because it's sophisticated what's going on. So they have to plan out first unit days, which is with all the actors, and they also have to plan out the second unit days. So that's the
No,
stunt units. So that's what's going on with that. You
or
still have TV shows like back when I first started, I worked on Black Lightning, and I worked on that as an additional PA. That shot for 9 months.
mhm.
That was the same kind of thing. It was a 20 episode thing. So they shot for 9 months. So that is still
No,
going on.
though just not as often would often.
Yeah.
Do you think it's better for people within the in the background of doing shows, doing these 8 episode ones, or doing the 9 episode or the 9 month on for 24 episodes?
So
Which one do you think actually like is better for them to like actually be able to provide for their family and stuff like that?
So here's the way I would look at it though is so I knew somebody that worked on Black Lightning and got all of his AD. So basically as a PA, your goal is to become an AD, an assistant director, a second assistant director. That's when you join the union,
Hmm.
the DGA. And you have to get 600 days to become a union member and to get your book in, they have to approve your book and then you have to pay to get into the DGA, which is like 10 grand
Hmm.
initiation fee. Um, and I've heard people talk about and debate that same topic. So that's great that you bring it up.
Like I
Again, my friend got all of his days on got all of his days on Black Lightning.
mhm,
So the only crew that he knew were Black Lightning crew.
yeah.
And I debated this actually too with one of my AD friends about what's the best path to take if you were to be wanting to be an AD. And he's like, listen, I know a lot of people that did the 24 episodes and filmed and did that for 6 years and got their book in. The only thing that really sucks about doing that, as much as it is providing for the family, you only know that crew. You're only
Mhm,
working with that crew. So and it's all about who you know. Like, networking is a huge thing when it
mhm,
comes to any part of the crew to
yeah.
get in any of the departments. So as much as you are guaranteed 9 months of work,
And
he
also like
struggled to get assistant director work once he became an
mhm,
AD because he didn't nobody else knew him
yeah.
besides the crew.
So it sounds to me like it's like if you want a steady career, it's better than not the 9 months with 24 episodes. But if you want to actually get further in your career, the eight to 10
Yeah,
episodes are better.
and it's also a
I
lot. It's a lot for 9 months. Let
hmm
me tell you, it burns you out working
yeah
on a show for 5 months, 4 months. Like it does a number on you. Like usually for a film crew, you're working 12 hours minimum a day. Minimum.
mhm,
That's it. 12 minimum up to I've known somebody that worked 21 hours. I worked 18 hours, 18 and a half hours on one
yeah
day worth of work. Um, and that's the thing too, like that's also the big debate going on in the industry is what we need to do more to make
uh,
sets safer.
yeah
Because when I've known countless crew, luckily none that I knew personally, but I've known of crew who after working like 36 hours within 3 days, or even more, like 45 hours within 3 days. So that's 15 apiece, right? That people have passed out at the wheel
yeah.
and crashed and killed themselves driving home. I've
What
worked,
I don't understand about that is like, isn't wouldn't you expect just like with every other job, studios would have to follow the laws of how long you can actually have someone working?
well, here's the thing, there's no guardrails in the industry to prevent that. The only way that we can prevent that is if we can make a contract where, let's say we can do that. Let's say we can make it 10-hour minimum a day, max a
Mhm,
day. There's been a lot of debate about that too since the actors and writers strike. And that is, it will cost, there's a lot of Teamsters, there's a lot of people that are against that because that's less money that they're bringing in. If you cap the hours, and again, there's that also like
but
safety is paramount. Like we need
yeah,
to that should be the top priority, but there's a lot of ulterior motives that some people have about we are not like to not be for safe workouts. I know Clint Eastwood, he'll shoot 8 to 10 hours and then stop. That's it. You know, there were times during COVID where we would only shoot for 10 hours. And crew came back happier than ever every day because they
yeah.
had 2 extra hours with their family or 2 extra hours to sleep. And every time that we have tried to push for that and a new like contract agreement that the unions get with the studios, there's been a lot of vermin pushback against that because it
I
would
just
take
don't.
longer to film. It
I just don't understand how the studios aren't being required by law to, because I'm pretty sure, like particularly like in Georgia, isn't there laws making it so for any job, not just in the movie industry, but any job, you cannot have someone working out more than a certain amount of time.
I don't and I'll ask my industry friends about that. I don't there's no guardrails in place for that
like
at all.
like I
There's nothing
I
to
think
prevent the
remember
studios
like
from
there's
doing that.
like a law that the law that like after like 8 or 10 hours you either have to only have that be your the how long a shift can be, or you have to pay overtime.
Well, here's the thing though. That is what, so this is what's in place, right? To try and keep the studios from doing just that. And that is after 8 hours of base pay, you get time and a half after that eight. Regardless, like that's how it goes. So what we have done with our contracts when I'm working as a utility is the studios, the unions have put in place more money for people to get, and it is a way to be like, all right, we're costing you more money. Like you want to not pay us as much? Then let's you ramp back the hours, right? If you shoot over this, you've given us a lot more money because of that. So that's what's been being pushed because there's no guardrails, no laws in place that are going to prevent a studio from doing that.
Hmm.
What I mean,
Oh,
there's no place that I know of, no state that I've known of where I've worked where there's laws that stop a production from filming over 12 hours. It never has.
another thing I wonder about with like the 8 episode seasons thing is with a lot of those, it's those and this sign that as a consumer really sucks. Actually, taking like 3 years before another season comes out. How does that affect the people in the industry? Or they because like if it's only 4 months on so it's actually like filming, I'm you it, I imagine it's gotta suck like having to wait a multiple years before you get to come back to that set and keep working on it.
Well, there's a lot of times that the season two gets a renewal before the first season's even out yet. So there is that, but it's also like you're finding other work to work
Mm-hmm.
on. Like,
Sure.
when one production's done, you are vehemently looking for the next one. And a lot of times in between, like, say you're working on a show and you got like a month and a half until your next show. You're using that month and a half, you're day playing on different shows in and to fill out that time until you start your next. And it used to be like a conveyor belt for a lot of people where you'd go from one show into the next, one show into the next. And that was when we were running 50 plus shows in Atlanta. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then there were, a lot of people's mentality is they had to work the whole year, they nonstop. But then COVID happened, and that kind of changed the whole dynamic a little bit. At least for me, it did. I'm like, all right, I don't have to work. I don't have to work 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Like, just enough that I can keep myself afloat and some extra. But
I
it's a
think
whole
the
different ball game, dude.
I
It's
think
a
the
whole different
studios
ball.
I think the studios also like very much decided to change their way doing things after COVID because COVID really was the downfall of the 24 episode seasons. After that,
Yeah,
I feel like even on network TV, it would go down to like 19 or 18 episodes, sometimes
yeah.
15 in and like it I you know no you know I know sign like it's always sunny in Philadelphia used to be like a like 20 episode season. This past season was I think 8 episodes was at most.
Yeah. But here's another thing too. It's a lot to do with the studios trying to cut budget and trying to save money. Um, but what people don't really realize about the actors and writers strike is a lot of these shows, like Wednesday season two, started filming, was supposed to start filming during the 2023 after the first season. And then it got pushed because of the actors and writers strike. What you're seeing a lot of why it's taking so long for a season to come out is direct result of the fact that the studios refused to give the actors and writers a deal
Mhm.
that they were
Oh yeah,
rightfully wanting,
it's
rightfully needing. And they refused for 9 months to give
I
any
you
deal.
know
So,
I'm really curious about how they show that love of only murders in the building was able to kind of bypass that because they have still been doing putting out a season every year.
yeah, because, and I wonder, I don't know on how they were able to do that, but you know what? So, Alien Earth that just came out,
Mhm.
fun little plug. I know one of the cinematographers of Alien Earth. She is an amazing woman by the name of Bella Gonzalez. And nobody's interviewing her at all. She is the daughter of Dana Gonzalez, one of the directors of Alien Earth. He was also a cinematographer and a big cinematographer for Noah Hawley in his Fargo TV series.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna be interviewing her within the next couple months once the show is
Nice.
over. I am so excited to talk to her about working on an alien project. But
Like,
why I brought that up is Alien Earth, God, there are so many shows that were sprinkled out through 2023 that were given a voucher, a writer's voucher and an actor's voucher in order to film and
mhm,
get it done and get it finished. So that also happened with Megalopolis, the
mhm.
Francis Ford Coppola film. That was a piece of
That
trash.
yeah, and the
Dude,
and
I know people that worked
even
on it.
before I have not watched the film, but like even if the film were really good, I would still refuse to watch it because of what I've heard about how what Francis Ford Coppola did
Oh,
behind the
I've heard
scenes.
personally. I've heard
It's like
personally from friends.
no, I don't want to support that.
No, and let me tell you, I know personally from friends who were talking to one of the female actresses who was bawling her
Mhm.
eyes out because of the treatment that she got on
Like,
that set. So, as much as Coppola wants to say that it didn't happen,
mhm.
I've heard many stories about what happened on
We've
that set.
there's a video of it happening. Like you can't deny something happening when there's literally a video of it happening.
Yep. And it's crazy with the fact, and I mean, I think rightfully so, it bombed. I knew people
Mhm.
that worked on it and they were like, I don't know how this is gonna go. Like, this could either be the
It's
most amazing thing ever, or it's gonna just be pure trash. Like, there's no in between here when
that's
it
like
comes to that.
this is kind of just a goofy example, but that's literally how ever since it was announced as how I felt about the idea of the Minecraft movie is it's
Yep,
either gonna be the most amazing thing ever or it's gonna be the worst thing ever. And I
yep.
still have not seen the film.
It was just on HBO. It was just on HBO, the channel.
It's like
And
yeah.
it's a sight to behold because it's like, what? And again,
I'm very
I
curious about the original version of it because like the original version of it was going to be made by McIntyre from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and was going to star Eve Carell. I'm so curious about what his version of it was going to be.
no way, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was announced to direct it act in 2015, and then like a few months later, it was announced that Steve Carell joined the project to play Steve, which is a
What?
weird casting for Steve because of how old
Yeah,
Steve Carell is. But again, Jack Black is also a weird casting to play a Steve,
yeah, but it's
but
also,
like it's
yeah,
so interesting. And
but
one thing
again, yeah, it's weird.
I'm one thing that I'm very curious about that I'm wondering if you might I've heard anything about out within the industry. What happened with the Ironheart show? Because that filmed in 2022, and then
Yep.
it took till this year for Marvel to release it. Did you hear
So I
anything
know,
in the industry about
yeah,
what was going on about that?
Well, I try not to get into that kind of stuff when I'm talking with my friends because but I
If
mean, you hear
if you
things.
don't want to if you don't want to talk about that publicly, you
No,
don't
no,
have
no,
to.
no. But it's also like, I knew they went through original shoots, and then last year they had the reshoots. So they had reshoots shooting last year. Um, that shot for a couple weeks.
It's
So
just
they were fine tuning.
it
And
was
also,
just so weird to me how like we knew that it had been shooting in 2022, the early
yeah,
2022, then took till this year for them to actually release it. I was like,
yeah.
there
And I
had to be
wonder
some
where,
crazy thing happening with the set of that.
no, no, there was nothing crazy that I ever heard of. It
Huh.
was not anything like that. I just heard that they didn't know what and I think this was a huge part of it is Marvel wanted to they had a lot of they're going through a lot of course correction when it comes to any of their stuff right now, and I don't know if they knew what they wanted to do with it just then.
Yeah,
And that's why then they did the reshoots for it. And again, I want to reiterate to viewers about this too. Reshoots and um, additional days. That's what we usually call them when we're working. If any production gets additional days to film, that's a good thing because they are getting the money to finish what they want. They are getting the money
it's
that they see something
interesting.
in the
It's interesting to me because like I have always seen as like it can be a good thing, but then there's a lot of situations where the additional shooting definitely did not help it. I remember hearing about how many times I'm Dark Phoenix, the X-Men Dark
yeah.
Phoenix got was reshot.
And I know somebody that worked on that too.
And many times Morbius got reshot. And then they released the final product, and it's like, what were these reshoots? How did were these reshoots supposedly fixing it?
Well, here's another thing that happened with Dark Phoenix that I actually heard again from a really close source to the film who worked on it. And this person was telling me that this was around the time that he worked on the original shoot and then he worked on the reshoots. And this was around the time that the Fox deal was finalized.
Mhm.
There were a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it came to Dark Phoenix because there were certain things that they didn't want to have happen in this movie that they had already shot in the original shoot. Like the scrolls were apparently part of it, by the way.
Mhm.
Like that was the huge thing. The scrolls were apparently part of the Dark Phoenix original.
Which is Marvel probably
Yeah,
when Disney bought
yeah,
Fox,
because
they
they were
probably
like,
asked
we
them to
can't
not
touch this right yet.
put the scrolls in.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they
Like,
legitimately did. And here's the thing too. I think a lot of these reshoots are again a good thing because they give them time to like, hey,
hmm.
we got a couple days. Like
Yeah,
this will be good to fine tune what we need to do. The only
it's
time
just to
that
me.
really the reshoots get bad is when there are too many cooks in the kitchen.
Mhm.
And that's what's happened a lot of times
When
with
you
Marvel.
yeah, like when I see things like that, it makes me feel like reshoots are a sign that there's trouble, or at least
Not always.
highly publicized reshoots,
And a lot of these,
versus like most films have reshoots. I would
yeah.
but most of the time it's not highly publicized ones.
Well, here's another thing. A lot of the stuff that you see online from these scoopers is generated BS
Mm.
on the
Oh yeah.
fact that they are trying to generate more views. Um,
Oh.
that's a huge part of the problem. And it's what the internet has created for themselves is this rhetoric that when there's reshoots, it's a bad thing. When we are working, we are seeing them fine tune a product that they are getting extra money to fix. Like it could easily be from a Marvel shot of like, oh, we weren't thinking about that when we were shooting. Like we need some more coverage of this scene so we can make this scene work, which is literally what I've heard on set, especially on some of the Marvel stuff I've worked.
You know, you
So
talked
that's
about
also part of it.
you talked about like what happened with Dark Phoenix. Did you hear anything about what happened with Morbius? Is at Sony?
No,
Well,
no, no, I
because that
never,
was because that I
no,
feel
I
like there
never
was a
did.
lot of craziness that happened with that,
That
and
was,
like
I think, New York where they filmed a lot of that, I
okay,
think. So, yeah,
like I remember like the first trailer of that came out like it was and it was like multiple years before the film actually came out afterwards,
yeah,
and then the film comes out and a lot of the stuff in the trailer isn't even in it. They randomly have the Vulture showing up at the end, and which he did appear in the trailer, though it seemed like a very different thing was going on
yeah,
with him in the trailer.
yeah.
And it was just all like, I feel like there's an interesting story behind this.
Yeah,
And
I don't know what happened with that. I don't know how many days they had. I've never heard anything about
okay.
Morbius because again, I think that was a New York thing that they were
Yeah.
filming in New York. So, but it's also like over the last couple of years, Marvel has been trying to do this course correction, and I think for some it's worked, some it hasn't. I worked on Thunderbolts. I had a great time on that.
I think
So, yeah,
I just I worry though with their course correction if they are going to take the wrong message
yeah,
from people's criticisms of things. And what I mean by that is it kind of feels like they want to go back to just being white straight men movies.
yeah.
And like
We'll
I
see. We'll see.
and
Um,
that is something I definitely do not want.
oh no, no.
I phase 4 of the MCU is my favorite phase because it feels like there's something for everyone.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and I think that's a really cool thing. I don't want them to go back to it feeling like every film has to be this serious action movie. Every film
yeah.
has to be a white straight male starring.
Oh
I like
yeah.
that.
But I think but I think that was just a sign of the times when it
Mhm.
came to movies are always like a snapshot of what's going on in the world. I don't think Marvel is gonna go back to just doing that because there would be too much uproar against that. Um,
I
I
think
do
that
think though,
if they do it, they slowly go back to it. I think there's a lot of people who won't realize that the change happened, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
and
But I think more people, though, are very,
and also
especially on the actor side of things, are very adamant that to keep that from happening.
that's a
So,
good thing at least. Like
yeah,
and
I
I
do
also
think,
like
but that's the
worry
thing
that
too, more people have voice.
it feels particularly this year with Marvel like they didn't market the things that weren't white straight people
Yeah,
as much. Like
yeah,
you know it was a
yeah,
week before Eyes of Wakanda came out that they released a trailer.
yeah,
That feels targeted. Ironheart art was late with having a
yeah,
trailer, and it was and they also released it over just 2 weeks, and like it just kind of feels
yeah.
targeted.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. But I have a fun story actually to share about Top Gun. Um,
Mhm.
so I've worked on,
Getting back to the film we are
dude,
actually
it's all
supposed to be
good.
talking
I love
about.
talking.
Oh
So
yeah,
this is always fun,
so,
man. And again, I love talking
I,
about
I'm
all this
I'm
stuff. So
I'm
no
very okay
harm.
with going on rambles, but
No, I don't mind
I
this
just
at
like
all.
I'm just like I'm like
Dude, I love
I'm
it.
glad that we are actually getting back to it at some point though.
Yeah. So a fun story about Top Gun. So I worked on a movie called Shaft back in 2018.
Uh,
The Samuel Jackson
yeah,
reboot that they
I,
did.
uh, I I haven't watched any of the Shaft movies, but I've heard that they're fun.
Yep. And that was fun. But what was really fun was the director of photography, cinematographer on that was gentleman by the name of Larry Blanford. And older gentleman, super nice guy. Um, but I look at his eye, and that's the thing too. What I love doing is I get a call sheet with all the names, like for the day, like when I'm working, and I will look up their IMDb. And I looked up Larry's IMDb, and he was an aerial camera operator on Top Gun. So he was the guy in the back of the fighter jet controlling the camera. So when they were flying, he was in the back with them flying.
Nice.
He told me, he's like, I hated it because I would throw up all the time because we would be
Did they
flying.
have to have custom planes to actually have three passengers? Because they
No,
had
so
another.
it's
There was
usually no, so it's usually the no, I don't know, no, not
because
custom. So
well,
they
I
would
mean,
have the guy in the back. They would
what
always have the camera operator in the back seat. So when they were filming the back of the head, that was usually the fighter pilot actually doing it. And then
because like I remember while watching the film, there was
yeah,
they would
so
have
they would do
they
movie
had two
magic,
different actors that were in the plane.
or they would get a faraway shot of
Hmm.
Goose and Maverick in the plane, and they would make it look like that was Tom Cruise and Anthony Edwards who plays Goose.
Hmm.
So they did some movie magic. They never
Yeah.
know, but they were not all like, so a lot of the back shots of like the guys in the helmets, that would be the fighter pilot standing in as Maverick. And then also then too, he wasn't always in the aircraft with them. So they would be like on the ground controlling from the aircraft carrier. Like on the thing, controlling it from like doing focus pulling and stuff like that. Or they would put it up on a rig, maybe in the aircraft itself, so they could get the shots. But that was a cool one. I'm like, what was it like working on it? His first response was, freaking hated it because I would be blowing up all the
Probably.
time. I hated
You know,
flying in those fucking the F-14 Tomcats so much.
you know,
But it was a great conversation. I take those moments, man. When I can
oh
take
yeah.
those moments, I love it. I met
Oh yeah, I love hearing behind the scenes stuff about
dude,
movies. Like, you know, science.
that's
I have not like really gotten a chance to actually interview anybody like with a big within the industry. But like, if I ever get interviews with anybody, the one thing I always want to ask is, do you have any funny behind the scenes stories? And like
let's
that's the thing
see.
that I always love
Okay,
to hear
let's
about.
see.
Hear about.
Let's see what's a funny one. Um,
Like,
there are always funny things that freaking happen on
something
set,
that
man.
I always wonder about is like if there were pranks on set.
Oh
I would
yeah,
love to hear about people pranking each other, actors pranking each other on set. Like I feel like
yeah.
that would be so fun to hear about. Like so like
Anthony
that's the
Mackie
thing
was
I
a
always.
cool Anthony Mackie was a cool dude to work with. I
It's
never had a bad experience with him. He would always be cracking jokes on set because that's just literally how he is,
yeah.
which was so much fun. I think one of the funniest ones was I was working on um literally when I first started, I got a call from my friend Phil Banks, who is one of my closest friends, one of my great mentors. Him and David Stickler, two of my closest friends, and I've known them the longest in this industry. And I get a call from him, and this was right after I graduated college, and he's like, "Can you come down? Can you come and work downtown Atlanta? We're gonna film overnight for Bad Moms 2, Bad Moms Christmas." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll come. I'll come." I flew down from Kentucky on the first flight down, got on a train to the middle of the city and got off and walked to set. And coincidentally enough, the first AD. So in the structure of things, there is the director. Underneath the director is the cinematographer, DP. And then the third most important person on set is the first assistant director. He is basically the director.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
he is in charge of everything. He makes sure everything is running smoothly. and the second assistant director is right by him, making sure that everything is running. And the first assistant director is there to make it all happen. Like he's talking to the director. He's the one, he's the main conductor of everything to make sure that the director is going to get what he needs to make this happen. And coincidentally enough, when we're working on this, I met one of my great friends, Jason Inman, who is one of the most prominent first ADs in the industry, who has worked with Michael Bay. Oh my God, what else? He worked on the reshoots for Naked Gun before that came out. He's worked he worked as an LA fire. He was an LA firefighter for a while in LAFD
Nice.
and a LA paramedic. And that's how he started out in the industry. He was a medic on set. One of the coolest guys. And man, if you ever want to like talk about like
Uh,
how things are and how things work, he's a perfect source for that. And
Reminds me
but I met him on
of
that.
how of Steve Buscemi started his career as a firefighter too.
Yep, yep. And it was cool, but the funniest moment was we're filming in downtown Atlanta. And there are these guys that were driving lowriders, like lowriders, like like they sit literally
Hmm.
bumper on the ground, like back bumper on the ground with these huge wheels on them. So they were
Yeah.
like huge wheels with this little car on it. And they were driving around trying to get in the middle of our set and we're like hooting and hollering out the door, like trying to be like, hey, yeah, put me in the movie, put me in the movie. And that was the funniest thing. And he's like, every time they would come back, you'd hear on the radio, they're back. Like, those are the kind of things that are so much fun.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are the fun stories that you hear.
Oh,
Because again, everybody's you're there with them more than you are with your family. So they become your family.
oh yeah.
There's oh my God. I mean, the the
Yeah, like
shenanigans
the
in between shooting is it's so much
like
fun.
that's the thing where like whenever I'm watching interviews with actors, I'm like, ask them for a funny story. I bet they
Yes.
have a funny story.
Oh my God, there's always
Definitely,
something.
and that is like a question they can actually answer versus like any question that's actually about the movie. A lot of times they can't answer that.
No, no, because the NDAs are so strong.
Like,
That's why working on a show like Alien Earth, like if you talk to somebody that works on a Disney show, they'll be like, I don't know what I can actually talk about because of the fact the NDAs are so strong.
oh yeah,
So, yeah, and
you
it
know,
does. But also, let me tell you this too. We all talk. We all talk about everything. So, I knew about Toby Maguire. I knew about Andrew Garfield. I knew about all that way before the movie even came out. Even the first
mhm.
trailer came out. But that's the thing too. We keep our secrets. They say, "Hey,
Mhm.
want to hear some?" Loose
Oh
lips
yeah,
sink ships. So we all,
yeah. I've
but that's just
and
how it is.
I've heard things from someone I know who's an extra in a lot of films in Atlanta, and I and like they told me, oh, don't tell anyone. I'm like, don't worry, I'm not telling anybody. I
Yeah,
you don't have to worry. I will, like the film that she was in that and has already came out. I still am not gonna tell people that I knew about it public. At least I won't publicly talk about because I don't know exactly how their contract works.
yeah,
I
yeah.
will take stuff like that to the grave
You do.
because
You do.
I care about my friend.
Yeah.
You know,
When were you? So, have you
I
ever
was
thought about coming down to Atlanta to work on
I would
productions?
love to. I would love to. Sadly, I'm not living in Georgia anymore, or
Okay.
but I would love to do stuff like that. I would love to and also like get into acting actually at some point.
Yeah.
But but I just don't really know where to start. Oh, sorry, it's like
Yeah.
it's all like that. I feel like is a hard thing to know what's
Talk
actually
to me after the
real.
podcast and we can talk a little bit.
Uh,
What I will say though is the industry is dead right now.
hmm.
So a lot of people are being told don't
If
even
I
try right now, but
if I
later down
was
the
to
line
like
do.
actually get into anything thing as it currently stands because of where I'm currently living, I think
Yeah,
the area where I would be actually looking for stuff would be Chicago,
Chicago.
which
There's a lot
which
of Chicago
I don't
shows
know what
filming.
all actually films there there. I feel like
The
you don't.
Bear,
I feel like
the Bear.
that's true. I feel like you don't hear nearly as much about the stuff that films in Chicago as you would hear about stuff like the films in Atlanta or films in New York
Yeah,
or films in Los Angeles.
yeah.
Maybe it's like they have it better locked down out in Chicago, but you just I just feel like you don't hear about the productions publicly
Because it's
much
usually
there.
Chicago Fire or Chicago. A lot of the shows that are there are just the shit like the dramas and stuff, the network dramas like Chicago
I feel
Fire,
like
Chicago Med.
the only time I've actually like heard of or heard about production of sign happening in Chicago that I that was sign that I am interest to me is I is before it or it ended. I was a fan of the Arrowverse and they had
Yeah,
and Batwoman and filmed some stuff in Chicago.
Gotham Knights filmed in Atlanta. When that was filming,
Mhm.
they used the CW used our one of those lots by
It,
Jesus, I think that was like
it also
15, 20 minutes from my house.
I
They
think it was not actually in Atlanta, but I think like close to Atlanta was where Stargirl was filmed.
Yes, I know exactly where it was filmed. So when I say Atlanta, I mean anything within like 50 miles of
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta. So yeah, I know
Like
exactly where
because
Stargirl
like
was filmed.
wasn't like Stargirl like a small town that they filmed in,
Yeah, basically. And then one of the
or was that
sound
one
stages,
or did they like actually build a town for that? I don't remember if it was
I
actually
think
a
they
sound
filmed
a
in
town or not.
Covington, Georgia a
Oh.
lot. Like they would, for those kind of productions, they would film in a small town,
Mm-hmm.
like in Georgia somewhere, like close to the soundstage. And I think they probably filmed a lot of that small town stuff in Covington, Georgia, which is where a lot of the Peacemaker stuff I think filmed as well.
Nice.
And again, it's all about
Uh,
where the locations managers can find
mhm.
areas to shoot and get the right permits and stuff. It's fun,
Uh,
man.
oh
I
yeah,
love
I bet.
location shooting more than soundstage shooting,
I bet.
but it's fun.
I feel like both can be fun, but you have but with with soundstage filming, you really got to have a good like director who's gonna make it be enjoyable, or not just it feeling like you're filming on a brick wall.
Well, but that's the thing. It's not, I mean, it's work. As
Oh
much
yeah,
as I love
yeah.
it, it is
I was
work.
just saying like
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah, I
saying
get
like
what you mean.
it if you have a good director, I think they
Of
can
course.
make it feel more actually enjoyable.
Yeah.
Or
Oh my God, yeah. And you would be surprised
I
what's
think
filmed on a soundstage and what wasn't filmed
oh
on a
yeah,
soundstage.
like sign for for Wednesday season two. Who Christopher Lloyd, he's literally just a head in a jar are in the show. So he obviously had to film just in a room. But because it's Tim Burton as the director, I bet he still had fun.
Yeah. Oh my God. And that's why when you have a good director, the day flows a lot better. And
Hmm.
here's another thing too that a lot of crew love. It's when a director actually knows what he's fucking wants to do.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of
Oh yeah.
times when we're filming where it's like throwing something against the wall and seeing what sticks. And you
Hmm.
also got to be flexible as a director, but you gotta like when you don't have a plan, you
Hmm.
can't. That makes the whole day go worse.
Yeah.
And here's another thing too, what the first AD is there to do too is to make sure like we got a schedule to keep. Like as
Hmm.
much as the director is like the main man that we follow, the first AD is like, okay, like the studio's telling me we can't be over 13 hours today. Like, we got to keep this in this window. So it's all
Have
about that too. Like, if you know if the director knows what they want, which let me tell you, one of the coolest things was seeing the Russo brothers. I worked on Electric State during the reshoots for that. As much as people want to shit down their throat for being bad directors, they know what they want. They know what they want. They plan it out and they shoot it. I worked on the reshoots that they were doing for Citadel, that TV series that they did on Amazon. We filmed for 4 days. I was there for four. They were doing it for 30 days, right? Like these because they knew what they had they needed to fix up. So they Amazon gave them the budget to do it, which is what is great. Because the final product, if the final product people like, that's all that matters. And
yeah.
but they did previs. Like they drew out how they wanted it to be done. They knew exactly how they wanted it to be done.
Yeah.
Literally, I would see them working and be like, I want it this way. I want the camera this way. I want this lens. Let's go. Let's shoot. Like they knew exactly how they wanted it to go. And
Yeah.
that was fun to see these directors know what they want to do.
I
And
bet. I bet.
that's not how it always goes. You want
Well,
a tight knit machine
mhm.
all the way through.
So
But
I'm curious about out of someone working within the industry. Um, have you watched Seth Rogen's The Studio? And if so,
oh, it's
how?
perfect. It is
Yeah.
perfect in every freaking way. I have sat with my dad to watch that show, and I've showed them. Hang on one second. Cat's being little snooty. You were eating. Sorry. I thought she was getting into other food, but no, she was getting into her own food on the table. So that was funny. But oh no, no, come on. But the studio's perfect because the way I would always tell people is the shows to watch, the movies to watch are the movies about movies because they will
I
teach you so much
love
about
movies
it.
about movies,
Studio is one of the best,
and
and
it
I would
feels
say,
I love the studio because like it like I get to know more about behind the scenes things, but it's also not made in a way where it feels like it's trying to put down the idea of movies. And
oh no,
and that sign I think there are some things that have been done that are about movie making where it feels vindictive. If like I remember hearing about a show called I think The Franchise on
yeah,
HBO that
that was good. That
that
was a
I
good show. I loved it.
but I remember hearing that it was like sort of like really trying to put down like the
They
superhero
were
industry and stuff
showing,
like that.
I think they were showing some of the hypocrisy of the grandioseness sometimes of filming superhero franchises. And I thought it did a brilliant way of kind of parodying itself. Like I loved the show. I loved it. I loved it.
I just like
All the people that I know that all my film crew
uh,
friends that watched that show loved it because of how it was. I I
okay.
think it was a parody that was good. Yeah, and it was like kind of making fun. Warner Brothers kind of making fun of their own
Mhm,
kind of like idea. Like they were,
mhm.
they were kind of like
Yeah, they
self-deprecating a little bit. I loved it.
I can yeah, I can understand that. It's just I just like the idea side that like really feels more of like a celebration of the
Yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
making movies than sign that's kind of that feels almost vindictive. I have
Yeah.
not actually watched the franchise, but that's just what I
It was
heard about it.
good. It was
Heard about it. Like
good. And everybody that I knew, every crew member that I talked to that watched it with like I did, loved it. Loved it, loved it,
oh,
loved it. And it did a really fun job of kind of like poking fun and showing what each position on the crew is like.
mhm.
And it parodied it in a great way. So I highly recommend
Okay.
checking it out.
Cool. I'll definitely do
Because it is, it
that
kind of
sometime.
shows, because I think what it does a very good job of is like, not everything needs to be a franchise. And how convoluted it gets. Like the
Mm.
continuity, they do a lot of fun things in the show to kind of like parody continuity and parody superheroes jumping from one to the other, and some of these actors taking a part that, wasn't, like serious, wasn't supposed to be serious, and them trying to make it this serious thing when it's not supposed to be.
I mean, like Jared Leto, sending his co-stars like very messed up things to
Yeah,
play the
yeah,
Joker.
yeah. It's like that kind of stuff. I would say the things to watch to get an idea about what movie making is like. Top priority would be the studio. I think it again.
Like,
There's so many things in that show that I was like, yes, they freaking nailed it. It is. It's a perfect snapshot of what the industry is like, while subtly parodying it in a
hmm.
great way. And I love the
Yeah.
fact that it's Seth Rogen and
Oh yeah.
Evan Goldberg that created
There's
this show, because it
so
is
good.
perfect. But I would also say another great example is Tropic Thunder. One of the best, one of the funniest shows, one of the funniest films to come out in the last. My kid just ran. That was fun. She's in a zooming era right now, but it it is so good. One of my favorite jokes in Tropic Thunder is they're having um they're having a Zoom meeting or a conference call with Les Grossman, who's played by Tom Cruise, who is literally there. He's dressed like Harvey Weinstein. Like he based his character off of Harvey Weinstein being like the shittiest human being possible. And their movie's over budget. They fucked up a scene right in the beginning of the movie. So this isn't really like even a spoiler. He's looking around the room and he's like, which one of you is the key grip? And the guy in the back raises his hand and he's like, I want you to hit that director really, really fucking hard. And the, the grip is like, sorry, man, and punches the director in the face because he fucked up. He fucked up like a $200 million shot with all of these explosions. But the part that I laughed so hard at is the grips are the guys carrying all the heavy gear. So he picked out one of the strongest guys in the room to punch the director in the face. And they had to listen to the studio head.
I
So
feel
he
like
punched him.
it's not just like them trying to get one of the strongest guys in the room, but also I imagine the grips are probably one of the people lower on the totem pole on
Yeah,
set,
or the
and
key
they
grip,
want
not really. Not the key grip. The key grip has a lot of sway within things
oh
too, but it's just
like
like he
because
didn't
I
want to
was thinking
piss off
like
the he didn't want to piss off the studio head, so
but I mean it's like him choosing someone who is like someone who's on the
yeah, yeah,
crew,
yeah,
so
yeah.
he's lower. So it's in more insulting to the director.
Yeah, that's also true too. But it's such there needs to be more of that kind of stuff. I think
I
the way that we can keep inspiring people is to get more shows about making shows,
hmm.
because the
And I
studio
think
captures the magic of it all
oh
in the
yeah,
best way.
it feel like the studio to me feels like a love letter to making
Yes, it
movies.
is.
And it's
Yep.
like yes, it is critical of some things, but mainly the things that it's critical of are the executives.
Yes. Yep.
It's never never like trying to put down the actual like making of movies,
Nope.
and
Nope.
that's sign that I
It's the
and
hypocrisy of it all. The money, the crap that gets in the middle of everything. That's where it's like being very critical of and very damning of. So
oh, going back to Top Gun though. Oh, which of the characters would you say would is your favorite in it? I really liked Viper in the movie. I thought
Yeah,
he was really cool.
yeah, and
Like you
yeah.
you don't get a lot of like people in command in movies, he's in
Oh my God,
military
I love
movies
Tom Selleck so much. Yes.
that are like feel like they actually care about the people, and like he
Yep.
felt like he cared about them in the film,
Oh my
and I
God,
thought that
yeah.
was so cool.
Viper was a father figure to Maverick for sure in that movie
Yeah.
and wanted the best for him and wasn't afraid to kind of give it to him what he needed, like the hard lessons to
Mhm.
learn. My one of the funniest parts of the movie is good morning, gentlemen. The temperature is 110 degrees. Holy shit, it's Viper. Viper's up here. Great. Holy shit. Great. He's probably thinking, holy shit, it's Maverick and Goose. And Goose is like, yeah, I'm sure that's what he's saying. Like, I love that interaction. And I mean, everybody's got such reverence for him. The movie's fantastic. Listen, I do got to go use the restroom though.
Uh,
Can we stop and we can go
yeah.
back to it? But yeah, I think Top Gun is one of those. It made a good amount of money, but I don't think it was like a huge success though.
I feel like the sequel made like a
Oh,
crazy
the
amount
sequel,
more.
oh, it did. Sequel made almost $2.5 billion or 1.5. But
Like that is very surprising to me. Like that for a film like this, it was able to do that.
yeah, but
Oh,
that's the power of this of Top Gun Maverick. The movie is, and we can do one to talk about that because
mhm,
that one is Top Gun is was one of my favorite movies of all time. And for me to say it didn't have Top Gun Maverick did not have a big bar for me to be a great movie,
mhm,
right? It literally had to hit like my minimal requirements in my head in order for that to happen. And it was not, I was going to like the movie no matter what.
mhm.
The fact that we got a sequel at all, huge deal. And it took 30 years for this to happen. But
Uh, like,
what what is phenomenal about it is it exceeded every expectation for me in every way because if you love the relationships and you love the character interactions in Top Gun, you will love Top Gun Maverick
okay.
because it is more deeply personal and just
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mhm.
And
You know,
I'll tell you a
something
fun one.
with
But
Top Gun that I imagine is also the case with Top Gun Maverick. Tom Cruise's acting is so surprising to me because I don't think I've seen anything else where I think he acted as hard as he does in this.
oh my God, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Like I don't like when I'm watching like Mission Impossible movies. Like I enjoy them. I enjoy them, but like I don't think that he's trying super hard with acting in those. I feel like he's very close to his own personality. This feels like he's giving a powerful performance.
So this was around when he really wanted to be taken seriously as a male actor in Hollywood. And I think that's what you were seeing was he wanted to give it his all. Also,
Now he doesn't really have to do that since he's a
well, I mean,
cult that'll take care of him.
I
Like
still love his Mission
I
Impossible.
like the Mission Impossible movies. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying like
I
he
think
does not.
he gives
He may not feel like he has to give his all now because he's just taken care of by the Church of Scientology now.
Yeah, but it's also like I think I think he gives it. I think he gives every performance. If anything that you can say about him in the Mission Impossible films is he's giving his body to the movie itself because he was the guy jumping out of the aircraft in Mission Impossible Fallout for
I
those
feel
Halo
like
jumps.
those kind of things are less of him like being like really passionate about the craft and more of he wants to look manly. I think he's very much someone who just
I
wants to
don't think it's
look
a
manly.
manly thing. It's not a manly thing. From everything that I've heard about him from people that have worked with him, he is very passionate about
Yeah,
what the
I
hell did
will
he
say though, like yeah, this is
start?
something that a lot of people hate when he did, but I actually think was a good thing he did was when he yelled at people during COVID.
Yeah,
I think that was actually very good.
yeah,
He was being very clear here. This is a privilege we have to be able to do this. Is
yeah.
we're gonna do it right and do it safely.
Yep. I was working on the Tomorrow War reshoots when that happened during COVID. And that was a big deal. But I think too, let me he is what McCreary and Cruise have done with the Mission Impossible films is push movie making into a whole new era when it comes to stunts, when it comes to what they can accomplish with the camera. And to me, I do think Cruise gives it his all when in those
I
movies. He
To be
is,
honest, like the only Mission Impossible film where I actually like was not a super big fan of is actually the most recent one that came out this year. I was this one and this year I was disappointed by. I for like a couple of reasons. And one just like the I think overuse of use of stock footage or not stock footage, but like archival footage from the previous films. The and then the like I'm someone who like flashing lights really bothers my eyes, and there's a lot of flashing lights in the newest one, and
definitely, yeah,
that made it hard to watch. But then the big thing is like whereas as the first part, even though the second part didn't actually get called part two. Whereas the first part felt like it was very much a criticism of AI specifically.
yeah,
The second part felt more like the internet in general being bad, and I was just like, really, like that.
yeah,
I didn't love that. It felt very boomer to me. Them being like, "Oh, the internet bad. You need to stay off the
yeah.
internet." I'm like, why? It was like it
But
felt
to me,
versus like the first part. I was like, "Ooh, they're actually like delving into AI and like this is terrifying because this feels real now." Now and
yeah.
versus the second one, I was just like, "You just
But
made a
I think
thing
it
about the internet."
shows the dangers. I think what the first one did was it sets it all up and does a really good job at showing the creation of this. The
I
and
also think if for it being the final meant to be the final film in the franchise, I don't know if it'll actually be that, but
yeah,
I think that they should have killed off Ethan Hunt. I think that that would have been good for
yeah.
the film.
But here's
It
another
almost
thing
didn't
though.
really feel like it had a lot of stakes. If he ends up being fine, on Simon and Peg ends up being fine, the only person who ended up dying is Luther.
Yeah, but it's also like I think I think though we've kind of I think we've gone tired with the trope of killing off the main character in the end of the franchise kind of thing too. And I really think though too,
I
like
think with I actually agree with that in a lot of times, but I feel like with Mission
with Mission
Impossible,
Impossible.
it particularly, it's kind of felt for a long time like they just have plot armor.
Yeah, it's true.
And and versus like other things, I actually would very much agree with you. Like I'm with as I'm a big fan of Marvel, I actually want them to resurrect characters because that's something they did in the comics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't think that these characters dying should actually mean as much as people want them to mean. I think it should be more of like they're going away for a little bit, but they'll come back again.
Yeah, but I think the thing though that I'm not a fan of is like what they're probably gonna do with Avengers Doomsday with basically the rumor is I heard was that like that Doom is a Tony Stark variant.
Yeah, I don't like that. I
I
don't
don't like
like
that at all
that.
because I do
I
think that some
hate
should
that.
come
I
back.
hate that Robert Downey Jr. got cast as Doom. Like I
Yeah,
would not
I think
mind.
that's such a
I
time
would
thing.
I would be actually very happy if they were to bring back Tony Stark, or having him, but have him resurrected, not having him be Doom.
Yeah,
Cast a
but it
Romani actor for Doom. Like, god damn it,
yeah,
why is that hard for them to get through their thick skull?
but it's also
Oh,
like we
it,
don't want to eliminate what Tony did and and resurrecting him though is kind of like we don't want to erase what Tony did in Avengers Endgame. That's that's where it's like, but again, as you made the comment, which is true, they are doing that all the time in the comics.
oh
But
yeah.
if it's for the right reasons, then good. But it just felt like I was on a
For
Twitter space when that
with
was
him with
announced.
like I think where it should be where characters being resurrected should be where it's like this is a fun thing to do for the story, and not what they did with what they're doing with Robert Downey Jr., which is pretty obviously they want to get the fans back from the Infinity Saga.
And like, I don't think Natasha should be resurrected because
Which
she
which
sacrificed herself, you
I'm
know?
very fine with Natasha not coming back because I'm not really a fan of Scarlett Johansson.
You're
But
not? Okay.
oh, yeah, she's defended both Joss Whedon and Woody Allen, and I'm just like, I don't love that.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't love that
yeah,
about her.
yeah,
So I'm okay with her not coming back.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting, man. I'm, and I think it's exciting what Gunn is going to be doing with
Mhm.
DC.
Oh yeah.
And again, what
I'm
people,
I to me Guns DC, like I'm so excited about it because it feels like a return to the classic feel of superhero movies.
uh-huh,
Like which I kind of feel like we lost that feeling in the 2010s.
yeah,
Like particularly 2013 feels to me like the start of losing that classic feel. I personally feel like the first Avengers film does have that classic feel, and
yes,
like
it does.
everything before that does. But then after that, 2013 with stuff like Man of Steel, Iron Man 3, and Thor: The Dark World kind of started us on this path of almost like trying to make superhero films feel elevated in a way,
Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
yeah,
like let's let it be feel classic, have this classic feel to it. It like that's no, for that reason, like even though I know a lot of people dislike a lot of the superhero films from the early 2000s, stuff like the Fantastic Four films from the early 2000s, I love them because they have that classic feel.
yeah, yeah. And here's the thing too about why I predicted that James Gunn was going to be the head of DC. I literally was on a Twitter space and I'm like, you know who would be a great choice? James Gunn. And I listed it out. And this is why he's perfect. He is creative at heart. He is a director. He is a writer. He is also came up under Feige, who
Mhm.
taught him the business of producing and how the industry works. He was Feige's protege. He was the one that's been there almost one of the longest, like for Marvel directors. And he he's created those relationships as an actor and writer with other actors that is very, 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 very beneficial. He is
Oh yeah.
networked for a decade in the Marvel world and doing his own thing with the different like independent films that he would do in between. And I'm like, he is the perfect choice because he understands the economics of
Oh
movie
yeah,
making.
absolutely.
And
He
and I
and
and
I
I'm
think he
like,
understands what audiences want. one versus like the previous
Yeah,
era of DC. Either were like, let's make everything dark, serious, and it's like that's not. We want more of a classic feel. We want to get back to that classic feel for superheroes.
but that's how you distinguish itself from Marvel, is you can have those Marvel films, but then have DC. They're not going to be carbon copies of each other.
Mhm.
And that's what I really like. I think Gunn, and I love the fact that we are getting a movie. We're getting these different projects where he talked about it, where the comics have different feels between them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And and that's what's so much fun is you can have a mature story and then
Hmm.
have a goofy story, goofy
Oh
comic
yeah,
book like
absolutely.
story, and they can all work together. And
Hmm.
it lets the directors play those certain parts.
I think
And
sign that I think a lot of people have trouble with understanding that at least people who don't real read comics is like you should expect slight changes in tone, slight changes in
yep,
continuity between different people making it. Like the comics, you don't they've had they've like Marvel Comics has been doing stuff for 100 years or something
yep,
like that, or 80 years or so. Oh, and as different writers come in, the continuity changes.
yes. Oh
So
yeah.
I don't mind with superhero movies when the continuity is not perfect because I'm just okay with just seeing what the director wants to do with it.
Here's where Marvel, I think, messed up is you now have 40 plus movies that and TV shows that you need to watch in order for you to understand what's happening.
I think what where they messed up is that they didn't specifically tell people before Disney Plus, hey, these are just like with the movies, you don't have to watch everything. You can watch what you want. Where people feeling like they have this
Yeah,
have homework is because they've trained their minds to believe they have to watch everything versus is when you actually look at each of these individual things, they could absolutely be watched without watching anything else.
that's true. Yeah, but a lot of them lead into one of, don't you think too? Though?
Sure, but anything that you need to know from the previous project, you're going to hear about in
Well,
the
that's
new
true.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
But they
and it's
trained
the
everybody
exact
to think
same,
that though.
and it's
Yeah.
the exact same way with the comics. But with the comics, people don't feel like they have to read every little thing, and you physically could not read every little thing because of how much is released in a year of comics.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah.
and I think what Marvel messed up with is they didn't put, and make the point to tell people you don't have to watch everything. You can just watch what you want, and it's always gonna make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary. And it's good, you know.
Like I personally love that they expanded a lot with Phase Four because I think that
Yeah.
they let us fans of different characters get to see them
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Oh my
they
God,
let
yeah.
us have so many different styles of stuff like
And that was what I think
before
was good. Yes. Yeah.
before Phase Four, or it was getting to this point where people were feeling like everything is the same. But when you go into Phase Four, can you really say that Hawkeye is the same as Werewolf by Night, or no, or Falcon and the
Yeah.
Winter Soldier is the same as WandaVision? Like they
Yeah.
don't feel the same, and that
Which
was a
is,
good thing.
yeah. And I think that definitely is what worked,
And
to have, but they didn't let the experiment go on long enough to make
yeah,
an
that
impact.
yeah they I think that they listened to online criticism and decided to change things because of that instead of actually
Yeah.
looking at the views because like like I've looked at the views of things. I've looked at the subscription
Yeah,
rates. It's Disney Plus, and when they were putting out 5 projects in 2021 and on in 2022, on each of those being on years on Disney Plus, that's where they were actually gaining a lot of subscribers on Disney Plus versus nowadays. I feel like a lot of months they're losing subscribers and we
yeah,
get a lot less. And I think they need to realize that the online audience is not actually the real audience, and a lot of people that I've
yeah,
talked to in real life about the Marvel Disney Plus shows, if they've seen them, they're like, yeah, those are good, good. Versus it's the people online that are always complaining about them.
but they're also, I think that's what's the worst part about it is the online haters, the online
Yeah,
critics that hate it are too loud. They are
they're
overpowering everybody else.
they're loud, but what Marvel's not understanding is they're not everybody. They're not the
Oh,
majority of
yeah. They're
fans.
just a little
Yeah,
microcosm
they're
of
just
what we
loud.
want.
They're just
Yep.
loud. And like listening to those people is why I worry about the possibility of them trying to go back to just white male heroes.
Yeah. I get the fear. And
Like
but
I've been feeling that worry ever since 2021. I was like, hey, let's be more complex in how we criticize things so that they don't think that everybody is just these bigoted haters.
but I think that the problem with it is we have conservative men, especially, that are shouting over everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the biggest issue, I think,
Like
is they are like, we need to be heard,
uh,
we need to be heard, we need to be heard.
and
Like,
that's what
how dare you? Like, fuck all you else. We need to be heard, Disney. We need to be heard. And it's like, dude, like you're there. The reason why this is happening is because they have overshadowed us and just
like yeah.
like,
And people like them is why I am constantly um talking about how much I loved stuff like the She-Hulk show
yeah,
because I want them to actually hear my voice over these people that are just constantly being hateful.
but I do think though, and I think that's what happened with Marvel is they needed to put more attention into the stories because I think that's happened a
And
lot
I
with their films is they they just thought we would all just gobble up everything and just be a-okay with what.
And I think though another a big thing with the like putting doing more focus is I think they need to stop having Kevin Feige be doing everything.
Yeah,
I think that let each individual project be their own individual thing,
yeah, which is
so
what it
that they
should be. Yes.
and then you don't have that you won't have that problem of not being able to focus enough and getting good enough stories out because one person works on each story,
Yeah.
not instead of or one person works on one story, or just like
Yeah.
and just like how like even if you have a shared universe or on with regular TV, say take the Arrowverse or the NCIS universe or the Chicago universe. They
Yeah.
yes, they're connected, but it's completely different people working on each thing. So
Yeah.
they don't have to worry about the what somebody else is doing.
Yeah, yeah, let the projects be their own thing. And I
Yeah,
do agree with that. And let it have its own, let them have their own soul
yeah.
too. Like
They
they don't need to be,
but I also a sign I
yeah,
also though think is that people have put too much stock into this idea that if we just cut down on projects, then other things will be better. And it's like, no, there is
Nope.
that's not how that works. Or you you don't just magically make one thing better because you delete another. You like that's not a good way to go about things. And like they also like oh that'll help deal with the with the problems with how VFX artists are treated. I'm like, I don't think that's a good way to deal with that. I think the way to deal with like the VFX X artists is you keep just as many projects going, but pay them more and hire more of them and for each project. So that because just cutting down on the projects kind of to me feels like let's give them less work and thus less money.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it is, I think what they did too is they oversaturated the market when it came to their Disney Plus shows. They were overextending themselves a little bit too, I think. And I think reeling it back, I do think that there is superhero fatigue. Marvel doesn't need to put out 20 different shows a year. And again, I'm exaggerating, like I want them to feel like event movies again. Like put out two movies a year.
Possibly,
Put
but
out two movies a.
I also don't think that they all need to feel like event movies. Like I
That's
think
true.
that
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Oh my
like
God, yeah. Like
like
a
that's a,
miniseries doesn't need to feel like an event,
that's the thing. Think a lot of people
Yeah,
who
I
actually don't
totally agree with that.
read a lot of comics don't understand. It's like they think that comics are just these big events like Devil's Reign, Batman Year One, and it's like no, most comics are just like these single issues where it's just your superhero fighting a random ass villain, and like I'm very okay with us having most of the time that, and then it's just only every once in a while a movie is an event movie.
It's true. Yeah. But I do think though, like Marvel kind of started out as every event, every movie is like a big deal. And I enjoyed that kind of feeling for it
Mm-hmm.
too. They need to be quote unquote epic and big, and you know what I mean, like have good stakes. But I think we should let them be just awesome movies and have the Avengers films still be those event films. Not every film needs to be at the level of Avengers, and I
Yeah,
do
and
think that they kind of like pushed that every film after
it,
phase three was an Avengers like film, but it wasn't.
yeah, that's like, but and even though even Avengers 2, I don't think every Avengers film needs to be a
Oh, that's
Thanos
true
level
too. Yes. Oh my
threat. I'm
God,
like,
yeah.
no,
Like
no,
Endgame needed to be that.
you are
Infinity War needed to be that.
by doing that, you are making it not feel as much of a threat.
Yeah, because you're
Give me
desensitizing us to that, to the
they
event. Yeah,
after or Endgame, they should have the next Avengers film should have been a small one on introducing the new team of Avengers,
but that's
signing
crazy. That's crazy that we haven't had one yet. That's
like
crazy
the
too.
first Avengers film was literally just versus Loki.
Yeah, yeah.
Give us signing like that again. Why did we need to go immediately to the biggest story in Marvel Comics history?
Yeah, but they needed to find a
Which way?
way.
Which how do you which them doing that as the next Avengers thing
Yeah,
after or Endgame makes you wonder after these two Avengers films, where the hell do they go next? If X, because you can't go bigger than the entire multiverse.
well, I think what's gonna save
I think
Marvel.
they shot themselves in the foot by going to the multiverse so quick.
That's also, I think,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
I think, like, or at least like creating a big event multiverse story, or you can have small multiverse stories, or
Yeah,
well, like like having this big event and being about the multiverse. That I think is a big thing that shot them in the foot because like they created something where anything after this is gonna feel lesser.
yeah. That's very true. I didn't think about that part of it, but it's also like what's gonna save Marvel is X-Men. I think X-Men is gonna save Marvel
Possibly.
in so ways. I'm
Possibly
excited.
it's honestly, I think it all depends on how they actually do the X-Men.
Yeah,
If they do them well, then yeah,
yeah,
they probably could. Uh, though I will say like the like if they have that Avengers 7 is Avengers versus X-Men, I do think that still will feel kind of disappointing after uh
yeah. Oh, after Secret
Secret
Wars and
Wars,
everything else.
them acting like that is the big saga thing. But but X-Men is something where I think if done right, they it can really do be great for Marvel.
I
But
think
it
the
all depends on if they actually have the balls to do them right, because they are probably about the most political thing that Marvel has in the comics. If
yeah,
And I think we're
yeah.
are
And they're
entering
about to
into a
touch
time
that.
where Marvel is trying to be very safe when it comes to politics.
That's a very freaking good point that, they
You
don't
look
want to
at
touch the butt, but they're about to touch the butt when it comes to this whole thing, dude. I didn't think
compare
about that part.
compare the first three Captain America films to Captain America 4, or you feel how politically charged the first three are,
Yeah.
versus the fourth one kind of feels like they're trying to really play it safe.
Oh, they
If
definitely
and
played it safe. And
for
that was what, yeah,
like
I totally agree with
Captain
that.
America 4 does not hit nearly as hard as Falcon and the Winter Soldier did.
That's true. Yeah.
I loved Captain America Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Captain America 4 though, it just it felt like they weren't willing to take a stand at all about anything.
Yeah, because it was very, they tried to go politically neutral in
They
their,
weren't even willing to say what side the president is on.
yeah, that's freaking true.
Like that,
Yeah.
which to be honest, I probably wouldn't have wanted them to make Red Hulk be racist, I but I still, if you're for a Captain America movie, especially one on where your star is a black man, have some balls to us to speak out about the racism that's happening in the world. Oh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they did with Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
and then you just get none of that in at really feeling
Because
in,
it got
in
drowned out. They got drowned out. The,
like
the
that.
right's rhetoric drowned everything out. I totally see that.
To me, I think Captain America 4 is such a weird film to me, because it doesn't even really feel like it fits in this area of the MCU. It
Yeah.
feels to me like they cared more about it being a sequel to equal to the Incredible Hulk than a sequel to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that
Yeah.
just feels weird. Why? It almost feels like the actual all the MCU connections that are in it, like Tiamat from Eternals, like they were put in as an afterthought. Oh yeah, we're supposed to be a part of this shared universe, so we'll put all these references in, and while
Oh,
the rest of the
um,
film is just acting like it's just in a universe with the
I'll
Incredible
tell
Hulk.
you, I'll tell you off screen about something
Mhm.
that I know that got cut. So I'll
Okay,
tell you a little bit about that
all
later.
right, but
That was it was good.
we
Yeah, I agree with you though. I
yeah,
agree. And I think too, we need to be
we
more, Marvel needs to be more bold in their
yeah,
messaging, especially
absolutely.
with that. I agree with
And
that too.
that's another thing I'm just really scared about with how they're going, because of Bob Iger particularly saying he doesn't want messages in films, which to me sounds like he wants films to be shallow, because as messages are what makes an endearing film.
Movies are inherently political. Like
Yes,
I talk to people about that all the time. I'm like,
like
art is political. It is a viewpoint of what is going on at that time. You see it sprinkled out throughout plots, everything. Art is political. It has
Yes,
always been
and
that
it's
way from
yeah.
the start of time.
You look look at comics. Comics. Hulk's first appearances were anti-war about the out the Cold War.
I
Or
didn't know
his
that.
yes, yes. It was it was showing the U.S. military as the bad guys eyes in it, and then you had
Oh,
you know, and take Disney movies. The one an early Disney movie, Bambi, is anti-hunting. They had
yeah.
Mickey Mouse had a short during I think it was World War II, or wait no I think it was the Vietnam War where he went out to war and died.
What?
Yes, there is a
Oh,
real Mickey Mouse short where that happened.
no
Like
way.
they are like it's not a new thing for these things to be
Yeah,
political. It's just that and what we get today, a political, or even say a like during Phase 4 when things were more political than they were um allowing for more political stuff than they are now. I would argue that it's tame compared to some of the stuff we've gotten in the past. Like with
yeah,
like you, they definitely there's definitely no way in hell you'd these days that you'd have something come out a superhero thing that was completely and utterly a anti-U.S. military area
yeah,
versus in the 60s when Hulk first started being that literally was what his first comic 5 issues of
yeah,
comics were about was basically showing both the U.S. military and Russia to be bad
yeah,
and they um that's and I wish that they had that kind of balls also.
yeah. But also too, like, think of how bold Marvel was to talk about mass surveillance and Captain America and the Winter Soldier and the dangers of mass surveillance with the drones, with the like terrorism
Mhm.
kind of deal. I thought, and that was why I think Captain America and the Winter Soldier is one of my favorite movies
Mhm.
of the MCU
You know,
because of that. It was very 3 days in the Condor, 3 days of the
Civil
Condor, which is so good.
Civil War goes into very much this the idea of superheroes being super cops ops and what it and how it can be really bad if the government has control over them.
Yep, yep, yep. And I mean, dude, the Civil War comics are phenomenal. When I heard that they were doing Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and then that, I lost my mind because I had just read those comics right before they announced that that was what they were going to do. Also, I don't know if I talked with you about this, but Red Skull should have been used a lot in the movies, I think, for
Oh
the
yeah,
Captain America
absolutely.
movies. I He's
I
so
think it's
sadistic and evil in the comics. Like
I
him
think like
freaking impregnating a woman and then like having a child that he like beats into becoming like
it's
this
like
yeah,
there's sometimes I
dude.
do like find like super interesting about characters like Red Skull and Armin Zemo or no not Armin Zola Zola I find so interesting how they are I don't think they're so much actually characters who care so much about what the Nazi party believes. They just like that they can control them,
Yeah,
and that's so interesting to me because I think that's a very interesting thing that I don't think they went into enough because of like stuff like we have now with how like billionaires in power our
Yeah.
act is like they're I don't think that a lot of them actually do have real views. They're more of they are more just I want to control everything, and I know that by controlling the bigots, I'm getting a lot of power.
Yeah. And it's just fascinating. Like, again, I thought, the one that I thought that it would do a really good job is I wish they did the Death of Captain America story arc from the comics. I thought that was going to be a very interesting thing with on how, like, Sharon gets pregnant from
I
Cap.
I
Like,
really wish that they didn't just have Chris Evans leave the universe with Endgame. And like I whether you can actually like go and do like some like crazy any more crazy stories like or with him like Death of Captain America or not. I think they should have kept him around at the very least to be a character who comes in and as like a mentor or advice figure. Like
like the new Tony Stark kind of deal. Yes.
like I think what would have been really powerful would have been like
Yeah.
in Spider-Man Far From Home when Peter is kind of like really breaking down he's talking to Happy. I think it would have been cool if Happy were like I think there's someone who you should talk to and took him to go see Old Man Cap. I think
Yeah.
that would have been really cool to see. And have Cap talking to him, giving him advice and ice ice,
Wow.
and
That's a really good idea. That's
they
a great
share
idea.
their feelings about Tony. Yeah,
Yeah. But I do think Happy was a
Happy
good
was
source, though.
a good in that scene. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just think that would have been powerful. Even, or again, you could have used him in Spider-Man No Way Home. When he's on the run from the police at the beginning of the film, Captain America is someone who's been on the run. A run. He's
Yeah.
a good person to go to for the to get
Yeah. That's a
advice.
very good. Yeah. But I do
But
think Happy was.
I think that Chris Evans kind of was wanting out, and that's probably why they stopped. They didn't bring him back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's I.
Oh,
Yeah. It's good, man. I love
oh.
the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Sam. And I'm trying to think of anything else for Top Gun that we should actually talk about because
Yeah, because we
like
got
this is
talking
a
about
film
everything too. It's good,
this
dude. It's
film
good.
I enjoyed it, but I did not really feel like there's a lot of different things to talk about. Where I'm like I don't know. I'm like
You
this
know
just
what's
feels like
really
more of a
interesting
film
though?
to just enjoy and not like really get in depth into.
What do you think about the fact that they went politically neutral in the movie? Like not
Yeah, that
naming the
was
Russians for what they were.
yeah, I did yeah, that was something I noticed. I was like this feels very tame and like they're not trying to it almost just feels like a Air Force propaganda movie, to be honest.
It is. You
And
know what?
that's
My dad told me about that this movie spiked like huge, huge, huge Air Force Navy recruitment.
hmm.
And the Department of Defense they finance part of the movie too. Like,
I think like
but
if you would if they went more into into some politics and I think that could have like given more stakes in the film and like at and had particularly like I might have
it's bland and
I might have
neutral.
been
Yeah.
more interested in the flying scenes if I had a reason to care about them. And like
Yeah, except that they're
outside
the
of the
bad
one
guys.
okay, there's one flying scene where I care about, and that's where Goose dies.
Yeah.
But that's about the only one where I'm like, I really care what's happening. And I'm like most of them just like,
It's just an
okay,
action movie at the end of the day, too, dude. Which is
yeah, I'm
like,
like, like
yeah,
this is like not nearly as interesting as these
let me
deep
tell you though, the fight
conversations that we have between these characters.
but it's also like I think the part too that kind of maybe tamed it on the filmmaking side is they didn't have all the technology that we have today that they
Mhm.
even but they that was a film that really pioneered
I think
aerial filming for movies and
I think
that
I think as the actual like aerial aspect of it actually kind of could be what took me out of it because like
yeah
versus like when it's on the ground with fighting, you can get more personal
yeah
with it versus like in the air, it just
oh
kind of
let me
can feel
tell you though
flat to me.
the fighter jet stuff and Top Gun Maverick pales in comparison to what Top Gun was. I think because they're right in there, they make it a lot more personal in Top Gun Maverick. And if you love the character relationships between them, you're gonna absolutely love Top Gun Maverick, especially
Mm.
between Iceman and Maverick. It
Uh,
has one of the
uh,
most like emotional scenes of
mm,
the Top Gun movies happens in Top Gun Maverick.
not
I
to
love the
like
fact they brought Iceman back.
mm,
Iceman, Val Kilmer being
yeah
in Top Gun Maverick made that movie infinitely just even
yeah
better
it's
and better.
not to like really take us off subject again, but the
Yeah,
but comparing but like when I think of like aerial fighting scenes, it reminded me of like of how there was the aerial fighting scenes around Tiamat Island in Captain America 4, or in those I think as well kind of felt flat to me.
yeah.
And I think it's because of them being in the air versus like if like in that film if Captain America had actually landed on Tiamat Island and was fighting people on the ground, I think it would have felt like more, if
More
that makes sense.
intimate, more personal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it feels
I
like
agree with you.
more
Yeah.
like
I can understand why
I need
some
to care
people are
about
not
this.
fan of it. I can understand why people aren't a fan of the fighter jet stuff because it's not man to man. It's not personal.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Another thing
intimately.
that it reminds me of something not feeling personal is in the Matrix 3 when we
Okay.
have the scenes outside of the Matrix and there's just everybody's in mechs and all of that stuff fighting
Yeah.
does not feel personal at all.
Yeah.
I'm just like this feels
Uh,
like nothing compared to what we had seen in the first two films
That's an
of the
interesting
Matrix.
opinion, and that's a different opinion, especially of the fighting stuff with Top Gun that I've never heard before, but I totally can understand where you're coming from with
Yeah.
that. That
But
makes sense. It makes
do you remember
sense.
what do you remember what I'm talking about though of the Matrix X3 of the
Yes.
like they were doing those mechs things like when those they did those in the film I was just like what am I watching?
Yeah.
This
Because
is not what I was the
they were
same as what I was
fighting
watching.
the droid. They were fighting the machines, right, that were
Yeah.
coming through the gates. I know what you
Mhm.
mean. It felt very also CGI, very heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was
which
like
took me out of it for sure. I
yeah,
totally
it
agree
was
with
like
that.
it just like felt like just so much nothing burger versus like the like when we're
Oh, I
actually getting
agree.
the when we were actually like versus like any like fights in the previous two films all felt very personal and I know and
Yeah.
like there's stakes and you should really care about this and I just I've never realized that before. I before watching Top Gun, I never realized as it might be like the like how them being in the air or like them or being in the
Yeah.
mechs that are just off the ground. Like something about that just like makes my brain be like, this is not very interesting.
That's interesting that you bring that up. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I respect that, man. I respect that.
I've never thought about it before, but like I wonder if that's the case. Like I remember another film where it was kind of in the air for the final sort of big battle sequence, and that was in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was just like, there is a lot going on, and I don't care about any.
Yeah. But that's
Like I
also,
did, but then again, and with the original Star Wars trilogy, I never felt that way about the about them flying in space. Ice, I never had
yeah.
that from, but for some reason, like just some films where they're in an aerial area trying to fight, just kind of takes me out of it, I guess.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, it's
you
weird.
kind of understand yourself a little bit better too with what you
Yeah, it's
enjoy.
interesting.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
interesting to realize that is that yeah. I I don't think there's really much else to talk
Yeah.
about Top Gun, so I'm winding this down. Is there anything that is there any last words you'd like to say before I end this off, or like you
No.
maybe want to promote something that you do or sign eyeing on
Yeah.
online, what?
I got I got a I got a I got a TikTok that I run. It's at Tyler Cobaugh, TylerCobaugh that I'm running right now. Trying to monetize my content. That's slowly but surely coming, which I'm excited
Hopefully,
for. Yeah.
hopefully you've not been like severely depressed or suppressed in views on TikTok like I kind of have.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get like it feels like I'm in this place where they've locked me and you cannot get more than in 300 or 400 views in a video.
Yeah, that's happened, but it's
I'm
like
like,
it
what
there's
is
a way to
going
get out
on?
of it though. So, yeah. I'm also going to be I haven't figured it out when, but I'm going to start my own podcast too where
Nice.
I'm going to talk to my industry friends and kind of do what you were talking about, a little bit of
Oh yeah.
what
Oh
the
yeah.
behind the scenes stuff. And I'm excited for that because there's a lot of people. My friend that worked on Alien Earth, I'm gonna talk with her. I know one of the
Nice.
producers of The Last of Us, and he agreed to talk with me about working on that. So those
Nice.
are just first two of like, and
Hell yeah.
I got to get it all together. I got to get things really rolling with that. I would think before the end of the year that'll be off the ground, and I'm excited for that.
Hell yeah.
But thank you for having
We'll
me
keep
on
on
for
the
this, man.
I'll keep
This
on
was
the lookout for
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Oh my
Hell
God,
yeah.
yeah. And also too, hit me up too if you want to talk about other movies and stuff too.
Absolutely.
This is training for me too to learn and to get my podcast
Nice. Absolutely.
voice
I'll
ready and
definitely let
everything
you
else.
know again in the future. No, but everyone on listening, thank you for listening. If you like this game analysis, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episodes. Please let me know. If you like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more game analysis from me coming, so keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Master Cherry John, signing off.